Okay, it is 9 a.m. And so we are going to begin this webinar. If anybody has any trouble hearing me, try to throw a message in the chat, and I'll try to figure out what's going on. But other than that, we'll just get started here. Welcome everybody. It is the 6th of June, and you may notice I am not Charles, but my name is Tom, and I will be taking over today to complete this webinar. So today we are going to be talking about Layaway, and so we want you to help build your business with your Layaway programs. So we're going to talk about layaway plans. We are going to create a layaway. We're going to teach you how to create a layaway account. We're going to create a layaway order. I'm going to show you how to receive a layaway payment. Show you how to view a layaway status, so to look at all the ones, all your customers that have layaway transactions. Recall and complete a layaway transaction. You're going to learn how to create a layaway payment report and how to create a customer report for layaway orders. So a lot of stuff to go over, but we should be able to get through it. Up front here, we're going to just talk a little bit about the history of layaway. Layaway plans first appeared during the Great Depression when a lot of people didn't have enough cash to pay full price for larger purchases. It was also a time before credit existed, so stores wanted to have a way to, basically keep people, able to come in and purchase larger purchases that they wouldn't have that money for right up front, but to be able to basically get that item eventually. Retailers responded by allowing customers to make payments on these items and pick them up when payment was made in full. Layaway plans were popular up until the 1980s when credit card usage increased. And then there wasn't really a need for layaway anymore, but layaway is still alive and well. Plenty of places still do layaway. It's just that credit cards have become a lot more popular, obviously, and so people just pay for it and deal with their own bank on that. But as I mentioned before, layaway plans are still going strong. A 2018 study by eMarketer showed that 31% of shoppers would not have made a purchase if a layaway plan was not available. So that's 31% of a market share there is something that is definitely worth considering, trying to capture some of that business. So don't discount layaway and decide, well, we're not going to do layaway because we don't want to bother with it. Clearly there are customers that will still utilize it, and so you don't want to lose out on that business. And another good thing about layaway is, every time they come in to make a payment, it becomes not necessarily an impulse buy, but they come by, hey, I got to make a payment. Oh, I also want to pick up a couple more things while I happen to be there at the store. So, it also is a driver of business because, they're not just getting that particular item that they have on layaway. So retailers such as Amazon, Best Buy, Big Lots, Burlington, Kmart, and Sears all still offer layaway plans, so it still exists. And layaway is not a loan or an offer of credit. It is a purchase agreement that reserves an item which is paid for over a set period of time. And so, yeah, typically with a loan or credit, they take that item right away. And so that's a liability to you, right? That is the more commonly used system today, right? Where hey, I want to take this hammer. It's $1,000. I don't know why it's such an expensive hammer, but that's okay. And you give the customer that hammer and they walk out of the store. Well, what's to say they're ever going to come back in and pay for that, right? So that's a liability for you. Whereas with layaway, you hold on to the hammer they make payments on it. Once it's paid in full, they take it away. So kind of a very low risk, low to kind of non-existent risk to you. What are the advantages for customers? Well, because you shouldn't just consider yourself in this equation, you should also consider what's best for the customer. That's going to help you do more business long term. Advantages for those customers: 0% interest makes Layaway a cheaper option than credit cards, right? So if you're extending lines of credit to customers now through the Paladin system, you have service charges, and if they're not paying, every time they run statements, if you have that turned on, if they're putting it on their credit card, again, interest payments on that. So Layaway for you, helps give that customer a way to get a product and not have to pay any extra on it just because they don't happen to have all of the money at that one time to pay for it. Makes larger purchases easier to make. Like I said, $1,000 hammer, you come in every week, you pay $100, and then at the end of 10 weeks, you get that hammer. So instead of just dropping $1,000 at one time. And this doesn't show up on a customer's credit report, which, as we all know, is a fickle thing to try to deal with, trying to manage credit and my credit score, and I have too much available balance, but too much money that I'm spending against that balance, kind of thing. So my credit score goes down. None of that happens to the customer in this equation because it doesn't have anything to do with credit and credit reporting. And it reserves a product and secure its availability which is good for high demand products. And so, like I said, customers can get access to things that maybe they thought they wouldn't have had an ability to get, just kind of helps them out as well. So what are the advantages for you, the store? Well, 0% interest provides a cheaper option for customers, thereby increasing sales. So as I kind of mentioned before, if you give customers an avenue to go down in terms of getting a product and not having to pay any extra for it, well, why wouldn't I go to your store versus the store where I'm going to have to pay extra for it, via interest or, whatever. And it provides an excellent marketing tool. Like I said, Layaway is not as prevalent as it used to be. And so people that, know what Layaway is and enjoy using it, maybe it's sometimes difficult for them to find options to utilize Layaway. So if you're, advertising, hey, I offer Layaway, come on in and make a purchase. Again, it's going to drive people to your store. And Layaway plan sales don't show up on a customer's credit report, which allows stores to make sales to customers who might have a little bit of a sketchy credit history. And so again, it helps them because they're able to make that purchase, but it helps you because it is little to no risk to you at all. The product is not leaving the store until the customer comes and pays for it. And so, that benefits you. And it creates a better shopping experience for customers by offering affordable payment options. So again, just making your store the place to go to when customers, hey, I know that's the best place for me to go because they have the more flexible options when it comes to payment for these things. How do we create a Layaway account? So you may already have a customer in your system. So John Smith or whatever it is. They might already have a profile set up in your system, but that's not the one we want to use. We actually want to create a separate account just for the purpose of this Layaway, so we don't confuse any sales or whatever, and kind of get that kind of intermingled with whatever else transaction-wise you have extending to them. When creating a Layaway account in Paladin, it is recommended that you create a separate Layaway account for each customer. Like I said, even if they already exist, just make another account. In Paladin, on the top ribbon, select the customer module. So that's number 2. On the bottom ribbon of the module, select add a customer. So down at the bottom here, we say add a customer, and then in the add a customer window, fill out their contact information. Now, when we're filling out that contact information, two ways that we recommend it. You can have an L with a dash, or you can type the word layaway and then put the name. So L-John Smith or layaway-John Smith. So again, that's a differentiator for you so that when you're trying to locate all these customers and stuff that have layaway accounts, you know, have a quick way to kind of organize that and find it. And yeah, like I said, use L or layaway, and then you'll want to collect and record their phone and email as well. You know, obviously, you want a way to be able to contact them, to be able to reach out to them if, you know, even just to remind them, hey, you've only got one more payment on this $1,000 hammer. Why don't you come on down and make that last payment so you can come pick it up. You know, kind of helps, again, drive more business. Because, oh, I'm here finishing paying for my hammer. Oh, I need to get a couple more things. So, you know, it just helps you stay on top of that, and helps because sometimes customers forget that they were trying to buy an item. And then creating a layaway account, continued here. In the customer tab, so back here in the customer module here, up top here on that credit tab here, in the customer tab, we do want to uncheck an option for you is to uncheck the month-end statement box. We're not saying one way or another whether or not you should or should not uncheck it, but the thought process behind this is if you don't create a statement for them, it's not an extra statement that you have to send out, and essentially, for the most part, yeah, they might forget, but they don't need that reminder. They know they have something on layaway. They know they've made a couple of payments to you, so they're going to want to get that return on their investment by paying it off and eventually leaving with the product. So creating statements for them isn't necessarily a thing that you need to do. And again, it's just kind of less that you have to do come statement time. And so continued here, then we're going to move over to the credit tab. We are going to check unapply service charge. Layaways don't need this, but when you first create a customer, it is by default on. So you do want to uncheck that so that they don't accrue any service charges on that account. And then you're going to save that information at the bottom right hand of the customer module there. Now that a layaway account is created, depending on if you want layaway customers to receive statements, you'll be able to send a monthly statement as a reminder to your layaway customers. So again, it's just kind of a dependent on the situation you feel best for your store. You can have it off or you can have it on as far as statement generation, but it's probably not something that's necessarily needed. Because again, if I've spent, you know, $300, $400, $500 towards my $1,000 hammer, oh, I'm aware that I've made those payments, and I'm going to want to get into that store and pay it off so that I can actually take the hammer eventually. So, all right, so how to create a layaway order. So again, now we've created the customer. Now we're going to create the order specifically to manage their layaway product. So in Paladin, on the top ribbon, select the invoice and quote module. So option number 1 there, module number 1. In the invoice and quote tab, in the customer list, select the layaway customer. So you're going to hit your drop down there, or just start typing if you have advanced search turned on, and you're going to type L- whatever the customer's name is, or layaway - whatever the customer's name is, however you decided to set that up. Then we are going to scan your part number or manually key it in and press enter. and then enter a quantity in the quantity box if more than one, obviously. So if they're buying 5 of these, put 5. If it's just one, leave it at 1. As an option, you can enter a note describing any special conditions of the layaway term. So again, you don't have to do that. If you would like to do that, you can, but for tracking or for more informational stuff that you might need for your store, you can put a note in there to kind of manage your layaway accounts that you have at the store there. And on the bottom ribbon, click Store Transaction. So we've got our customer selected, we have our item and the quantity, then we're going to store that transaction here, which is F6. Then once that window pops up where you're going to store that transaction, we do want to select On Hold, which is that furthest right radio button. In the name box, enter a layaway customer name followed by the current date. So you're going to put L or layaway, whichever one you went with, dash John Smith, and then the date of whatever day that you're storing that transaction. So you have a record basically of when that happened. Like I said before, if you're adding a special note that, hey, this has to be paid off within 30 days or whatever stipulations you've set there, but that way you have a way to track that. Then you're going to click F12, which is right now covered by this box, but in the bottom right-hand corner over here, it says Store, and then you store that transaction. Then you have it, whatever the amount of that transaction is, it's there, it's stored on the customer's profile. You back out of there, and you move on with the rest of the day. Now, a week later, they come in, they want to make their first payment. Whether if they're making their first payment that day or if they're doing it a week later, it doesn't matter. But now we're moving to talking about how we're going to receive payments for that layaway transaction. So in Paladin, on the top ribbon, you're going to go to Invoice and Quote, which you may already be there. In the customer list, we're going to select that layaway customer, so L. John Smith in this case. On the bottom ribbon there, we are going to hit Account Payment, which is F5. In the account payment window, enter the payment amount in the payment box, which is circled right there up top. And then in the note box, we're going to enter the term layaway. Again, so we're just tracking the layaway payments that have been made. That is going to help us out later on when we're trying to run a report. So continuing here on how to take a payment, then we're going to hit checkout on the bottom ribbon because we've put our amount in, we've put our note in. And then next step is we're going to select our method of payment. So cash or credit card or check even, whichever method you're using. And then hit enter. That'll finalize that transaction. In the transaction complete window, you can print the receipt or email it to them, or however they want to best get that receipt. And then you're going to cancel out of the Invoice and Quote module once you're done with that. And that's it. You've now made your first payment on that particular layaway. So viewing a layaway status, option 1. So this is one of the ways that you can view the status. In Paladin, on the top ribbon, select the Invoice and Quote module. Then pull up that customer, Layaway John Smith or L. John Smith in this case. On the bottom ribbon, select F5 Account Payment. And then once that account payment window opens up, the layaway amount, the amount that they have currently paid up to date, is right there in the bottom, in the credit section, basically showing that they have a $120 balance, right? And if you'll remember back, the original transaction was roughly $340 something or something like that. And so, again, okay, they've made $120 worth of payments towards this particular layaway that they have, and you know how close they are. And then you can hit cancel out of here because again, we're just trying to see the status. We're not going to make a payment at this point. We just want to know how much they've paid. So you would hit cancel to back out of there. Option number 2 to see the current customer's status, how much they have paid, is going into the customer module, select that customer, and then go to the balances tab right here. In the middle of the tab options there, and then the credit amount is in red, and it shows again how much they have paid. So again, that matches what we saw earlier. They have $120 that they have paid. And cancel out of here, and then you'll be done. So we now have showed you how to create the customer, how to create the transaction now, and how to take payments on that transaction. Now we're going to complete the layaway transaction and basically clear out the customer's balance. On the top ribbon, select the invoice and quote module. In the customer list, select that customer. If configured, the stored transaction window opens and points to F6 recall. So this should be on by default. Some of you may have turned it off. If you have, you can turn it back on. But once you pull up a customer, if they have a stored transaction, it should highlight this F6 recall transaction and tell you, hey, this customer has a stored transaction. Again, if that's off, we can go ahead and you can call us, or if you know how to turn it on, you can turn it back on, or we can help you with that. So we are going to hit F6 to recall the transaction. We're going to find that layaway, whichever one they are trying to pay off. We're going to highlight that and hit F12 to recall it. And then we're going to hit enter. And in the invoice and quote module, so it's going to open up that invoice, you'll see it, it'll have the total on there, and then we're going to hit F8 to check out. When we go to check out, this is what you are going to see. So again, you may have one of two scenarios. Either they came in and, well, in this case, they're making their final payment. So if you look over here on the left, it'll tell you credit balance of $120 is available. And so normally on this account, because again, we did not tell you to set up a credit balance or a credit limit basically. When you go to check out this account, you shouldn't have this option of charging. However, because they've been making payments and they have this credit balance, you can actually hit charge. So when you hit charge here, it will fill in the amount over here as charge of $120, and then you would have to select a alternate or a secondary payment method because $120 is obviously not going to cover the entire 377 or 378 at that point. So you'll have to select, are they going to pay the rest in cash, or they're going to pay the rest in credit card. And then in the purchase order or memo field, enter the term layaway complete. So right up there. And in the signature capture window, after you hit next, you can have them sign or not, whatever you decide for your store. When the transaction is completed, if configured, obviously a receipt's going to print. You may or may not have automatic receipts turned on, but if they need a receipt, you can give them a copy of it. And press cancel to exit out of the invoice and quote module once you're done. So that's it. We've now taken the payment, we've taken payments, and now we essentially applied those payments by, charging out that balance and then finishing out the transaction. So how to create a payment report for layaway orders per customer. So on the top ribbon, select the reports. So this is a way, again, for us to see who has made payments on their layaway accounts. On the top ribbon, select the reports module. In the report area pane, select sales analysis, what I need to know. In the report list pane, click transaction report Excel, and in the choose report pane, click F12 next. So we're going to go here. That's what it's going to look like eventually. And then in the report settings pane, we're going to select a date range and a account name. Again, if you've titled all your accounts with L- or Layaway, we should be able to find them quite easily. And then next step here, we would go ahead and in the additional settings pane, select show invoice notes. So that is up top here, right here. We want to click this little box that says show invoice notes. And then at the bottom there, click F12 run report. And as long as you have Excel on that computer, hopefully you do, a Microsoft Excel document containing the details of the layaway for the specific customer and time frame will open. And so you can, again, view all of the transactions that had anything to do with layaway and just kind of manage that for you. So how to create a customer report for layaway orders. So this is for, hey, I want to find all of the stored transactions or on-hold transactions that I have that are layaway transactions. And so to do that, you're going to go into the invoice and quote module, click F6, recall transaction. Don't pull a customer up initially. And then click F6, recall transaction. In the recall transaction window, we're going to select on hold. And then we're going to also show for all customers because that is going to show all of them. And then we click the F12 button, which is recall. And then that will show you all of your transactions that you have stored. Then you can sort by these columns. So at the very top here, there's name, memo, date, employee number. You can actually sort by those columns by clicking that header, so name. So if you click it, it will sort them all by alphabetical order. And then you want to click view in Excel after you have sorted it. Well, technically speaking, you can sort it in Excel, but this will just make it a little bit easier if you click right here and on the name column, sort it by alphabetical, then export it to Excel. An Excel icon will appear on the taskbar, or the Excel file will just open automatically. And then oh, that's the last one. Then you'll have that report, and then again, you can delete out of that report, out of Excel, any of those other transactions that you don't need. It will just show you the layaway transactions. And that is all there is to it. It's a little bit of a process, but once you know how to do it, it really is very simple. And again, the overall goal here is to drive business to your store by giving customers a different option which they don't have available at every other store, and to help them and yourself by again, driving business to you and then giving them a method to pay for things that they wouldn't have thought possible. Yeah, that is all there is to that. Now, to learn more about this particular topic, we do have a knowledge base article. So for those of you that know how to get to the knowledge base, you can just through Paladin, hit the select help and knowledge base. And then if you just type in the word layaway orders, that will bring up that document, and that will explain everything that I just did, but sometimes it's nice to have someone explaining it to you. Recording this webinar will be available at portal.paladinpos.com, so you can watch it in perpetuity. I do want to cover our next topic here. So on June 27th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, we're going to be talking about Paladin's import and export, which allows you to make big changes with little effort. So for those of you that don't know, if you're trying to bring in a bunch of part numbers at one time, or update, different settings within, pricing or whatever of a particular department, or, all of your inventory, you can do that yourself with the importer and exporter. And that is going to be the next topic that we're going to cover. So look forward to seeing you guys then. Thank you very much.